Hello, folks, and welcome to one of our Overhaul episodes that we normally will post on our Patreon. We decided, because Mr. Schumacher did pass away recently, we'd offer this as free content on our regular podcast feed. And I fully admit, we do rip into him a little bit on this episode, but it's all in good fun, and we do appreciate him making these movies. We just want to show how they could be made better. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, enjoy the show.
Welcome to Constructive Cinema,
where we improve movies,
but their story stays the same.
I'm JJ.
I'm Adam.
Oh boy, this one. All right, welcome to one of our Overhaul episodes on our Patreon here. We got the Schumacher Batman. And I have my beer, and I'm good.
I don't know. I feel it's like there's no beer or no liquor can really numb. They like what I just went through. Like, it would have been nice if I had that drink during the viewings. That'd have been nice, but instead is done.
Yeah, the sad part is any drinking games associated with those two movies, I'm afraid would kill you halfway through the movie rather than actually giving you an enjoyable time. So,
well, what's shocking to me, right, is that it's like I knew that, like, going into like Batman and Robin, that's where, like, if you needed to pull out liquor, then you did. Because I thought I remember like Batman Forever was not particularly great, but it's tolerable. No, Batman Forever is bad. It's not as bad, but it's still bad.
It's like it's a shitty cartoon that you remember fondly, but then going back as an adult, you're like, what the hell was I thinking?
Oh yeah, that's a really good example. That like analogy.
Because it's because that's all it's a cartoon. Because he's trying to. Okay, we're assuming if you're listening to this, you know basically the two movies.
Well, they're infamous.
Yeah, they are.
Infamy is the key word.
Yeah.
I mean, they almost single-handedly not only destroyed Batman, but comic book movies in general.
Mm-hmm. Which is sort of amusing for what they're based on. Within sort of comics, I would argue these two movies are a distillation of the Silver Age. You've got sort of kiddie stories, and especially with the introduction of Robin and the rest of the Bat family, that's a big Silver Age thing to sort of humanize and make Batman less scary. So that's what these movies are pulling from. Unfortunately, they go so... It goes beyond Silver Age into parody, but not a very good parody. It's the epic movie as opposed to Airplane.
Ouch! That's pretty accurate, but that's still ouch.
Well, I mean, that's what it is. It's because there is for anyone out there who like Silver Age, maybe they grew up with it, maybe they, read it for fun. Batman: Brave and the Bold, fantastic story, and very much the Silver Age of comics, down to Batman going off onto other planets because he has a spaceship. But the stories are really good, and the voice acting's really...
I need to rewatch Brave and the Bold. It was good. It was very good.
I still can't get over who they have for Batman because, I know, my brother loved Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, but the sensei in it is the guy who does Batman's voice.
I know. Yeah, he just reminded me of that movie.
I don't get it. I mean... But... anyway.
So, I feel like, before we even touch these movies... I want to have a brief conversation about tone. Because, especially with Batman, I mean, you hit on a little bit of the Silver Age, but I just... There's... Watching these movies, there's a couple things that stood out to me. The first is that it's tonal whiplash, not just in the sense of what I expect of the character today, but also what I expect of the character yesterday.
Oh, good Lord, yes.
Because what the movie is a sequel, it's technically a sequel to, is Batman Returns.
Yeah.
It's a sequel to the Tim Burton films. And, we've come a long way from the 30s, because Batman has worn many different faces, from the gold, silver, bronze age. And the Bronze Age, I feel like, was this really special time for Batman because it it showed a light where like you can actually take Batman in a much darker route than any guy in a cape and cowl has any right to be, and it works excellent.
I could argue that one. Yeah.
And there were certain writers that took giant strides with that concept. The big one was Alan Moore with The Killing Joke. I mean, granted, you could argue that The Killing Joke is more of a Joker story than it is a Batman story. That graphic novel alone really impacted the effect of how people see Batman, so much so that Tim Burton even used that as a template when he made his Batman film.
I didn't know that, actually.
Well, I mean, like, you have Jack Napier falling into a vat of chemicals and coming out as the insane.
Yes, yeah.
And then what's crazy about its sequel, Batman Returns, is that I feel like that movie is very much a Tim Burton movie with a Batman costume on. Because, like, it still works, but, that movie went way more into Tim Burton's signature style than his original.
Yeah.
And now, jumping a little bit past that, after Batman and Robin pretty much put the whole comic book film, industry on notice, and Batman Begins came out, it went back to just like super gritty, super realistic.
Yeah.
With when it worked, and then you had The Dark Knight, which is not only, in my opinion, one of the greatest comic book films ever, it's also one of the greatest movies ever, subjectively. But then you have The Dark Knight Rises, which continues, which you talked about.
Yeah.
Now, so what I'm getting at is that Batman only works in the modern age as a serious movie, right? Well, no, that's not what I'm getting at, because some of the biggest examples is when it went way too dark and way too gritty. You've got a movie like Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Oh, boy.
Which I realize that movie has its fans. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that hurts, but like most people, I feel like, are inclined to agree that movie took...
No good.
It's no good. And then you have a lighthearted Batman film that came out not too long ago called the Lego Batman movie, which technically you could argue that was more of a sequel to or a spin-off to the Lego movie than it was a traditional Batman film. But all the characters were from the DC universe, technically, except for all the villains that came out of the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
I mean, Voldemort's a pretty cool Batman villain, but something doesn't sound right when I say that.
Yeah.
But like, I'm saying that Batman's interesting because tone, like, it doesn't have to be black and white, pun intended, right? It doesn't have to. He has to be serious, and he doesn't have to only be lighthearted. And I feel like maybe Joel Schumacher was trying to bring that up. I mean, and I understand a little bit, because I guess here's a little bit of a spicy opinion. My favorite Batman, like my favorite live-action Batman, is still Adam West. And I realize that's a spicy opinion, but I feel like all the other Batmans have, like, their problems, especially for the tone they're going for.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you had to twist my arm and say, pick a serious choice, then I guess Christian Bale, but there's only so much of, swear to me, I can listen to.
And that, that also comes post-editing with him, too, a little bit, unfortunately. They pitched his voice when he was in Batman, and that's why he sounds so weird a lot of times, is that they, in addition to him doing a silly voice, they also pitched it weird, so it's like, wow, that sounds really off. I will admit, yeah, okay, side note, to give a point to the Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice nonsense, I don't mind the fact that Batman was using a voice synthesizer on him. It's like, oh, that's actually sort of a clever idea to disguise his voice. Like, okay, just as a side note, it's like, at least that little point was like, oh, okay, that's kind of good,
that was the movie's like a non-existent problem for the movie. I did not give a single care that Batman used a voice synthesizer in Batman versus Superman.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's doesn't affect anything, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to pull. Here's your one good thing you did. There were probably a couple other good things, but that was the one thing that stuck out in my mind. It's like, oh, okay, that was actually kind of nice and clever. Thank you, movie.
Jumping back to what I was saying is that, like, Adam West, the reason why maybe he's my favorite representation of Batman is because the movie and show around him melded so well with what he was going for. Like, of course, Adam West's Batman is not going to work in Tim Burton's Batman or Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, right?
Yeah.
But, like, in that world, it works. So theoretically, if Joel Schumacher made a world to where either Val Kilmer or George Clooney could work in, maybe it could work. But I think the fundamental problem, and this is the end of this long, rambly way about saying this, Joel Schumacher did not read the room of the time that he was in for the character. Or he didn't, and he especially did not really concentrate on any of the assets that he was given with to maybe meld to something that people would actually like. And
that's pretty accurate.
Like, this is a point that we'll make later on in the movie, right? Like, there's a Seal song that was introduced in this movie called "Kissed by a Rose." I love that song. But
why is it in a Batman movie?
There you go. I feel like "Kiss from a Rose" is almost like the perfect representation of how the Schumacher films fit in with Batman's legacy. It's like, no. Actually, I take that back. That was a crappy point because I like Kiss from a Rose. I don't like Schumacher's movies. Man, my brain got broken.
I always forget it's in that movie. Like, because, it was always on the radio when I was a kid, and I remember it fondly. It's like, oh, yeah, it's an awesome song. And then you find out it was in a bloody Batman movie. And you're like, oh, wait, yeah, it is. Like, wait, what?
I mean, it's almost as, like, jarring as, like, Living in America in Rocky IV.
Wait, what?
You know that song, "Living in America"? Don't put that in there. But, like, that song was in Rocky IV.
No.
Yeah. So when Ivan Drago gets introduced and he has his fight with Apollo Creed does this giant dance number. Do you not remember this?
I never put that song as what he's dancing. Oh, good Lord. Because it was always just like, oh, yeah, that's Apollo Creed doing his whatever. I never thought about that being in America. Wow.
So, anyways, resuming, I guess, recording after that Rocky side note. So, one of the things that I have to say right off the bat is that I think maybe a 90s lighthearted Batman movie could work, but I almost don't want to use any of the assets in this movie. I realize that our tagline at the beginning of this is we improve movies, but their stories stay the same, but I don't know, dude. But let me get your opinions. Let me get your opinions on Schumacher, on tone. Let it rip.
Let ignoring the tone part of it, which I think it was a mistake to do it that lighthearted. I think Schumacher wanted to make a movie that was like or he was told to make it similar to the other Batman movies to sell. We're going to semi-ignore that. From these movies, and it took me actually sitting there watching them, like dissecting them, like coming up with what these movies are about. It's not so much the lighthearted Batman. You could argue that is a part of it. It is Batman ceasing to be Batman and becoming the head of the Bat family. Because you have in a Batman and Robin, you have Robin finally introduced, which is a huge thing within Silver Age comics. That was a big leap for him as a character. And in fact, there's an excellent animated movie based on the comic series, Justice League New Frontier. It is sort of taking the transition from the golden age of comics into Silver Age and making that into an actual comic book story. You have the introduction of Martian Manhunter. Batman becomes less like this big scary pulp guy into he's becoming a bit more of the Batman we know. Robin's introduced and so on. So that technically that is what you could kind of work on. That's what the Schumacher movie should be. Batman is not so much the dark brooding is not the dark brooding hero. He starts to sort of, I don't know if settle down is a good thing, but realize that it's not all about him anymore. And realizing that he can share who he is and what he is with other people.
That movie exists. That movie exists.
Well,
it's called the Lego Batman movie.
Well, yes, but okay, that's the Lego Batman movie. Like, I get that is what those stories are trying to be, but let's think about this in a less like Lego Batman sense. But yeah, I mean that's what these movies need to be. Is Batman transitioning from being the Tim Burton super dark character into a little more lighthearted, a little less insular. We'll go with that.
He also needs to have like an American Werewolf in London transformation of going from Michael Keaton into Val Kilmer.
Well, let's ignore that part of it. So in this new movie that we are coming up with, now do we want it to be a sequel to these other ones? Or
no. Actually,
okay.
I'll say that. The fact that this is technically a sequel to Batman Returns is a giant mistake, and it really does hurt the movies in the long run. So let's just call this like our own Schumacher verse. So it's got nothing to do with the Burton films. Now,
yeah, you
can have it to where Batman has been doing his thing for a long time. I mean, we don't need to have a new origin story every time these movies come out. I mean, Spider-Man Homecoming figured that out, and it worked well.
Oh, I'm so happy that happened. Like that. Oh, if I see Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man one more bloody time without it being, Miles Morales Spider-Man or something. Yeesh.
But like, I don't know. I feel like not only for our movie's sake, but even going back like retroactively for Schumacher, that's way better. Is to pretend that these don't have anything to do with the Burton films.
Well, okay. So basically, we're going with Batman creating the Bat family is what our storyline is going to be. Yeah. Do we even want to have Schumacher directing this thing? Like, okay, we're going with this idea that Batman is. He's been doing this for a long time. He meets... See, now, that's also another part of this thing that has always... that these versions of Batman confuse me.
How's that?
Well, okay... Robin is so old in this movie, and I get it. It makes sense. You want to have an actor who's old enough so he can do the stunts and be reasonable. Why is he taken in by Batman as his ward? Like, that confuses the shit out of me in... is it No, it's not Batman and Robin. Batman Forever. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, they even try and call attention to it. Like, they look... like 5 years apart in the movie.
What made Robin, I guess, feel like work as why he would be there is that, like, he was a kid when his parents were murdered. So, like, Batman took him under his wing so he would not end up like an orphan.
Yeah.
And Robin stumbled upon Batman's identity, and Batman pretty much said, "You know what? Fine." And that's how Robin came about. So back then, like in the comics and pretty much every other interpretation of Robin that's been in like animated films, because the other live-action interpretation I can think of is technically Joseph Gordon-Levitt in The Dark Knight Rises, but...
which... Yeah, we got into that already. We don't have to retread that one. So...
Yeah. So, like... Yeah, it doesn't make sense, like... It does not make sense that Robin is this old. I mean, also, you know, there are a lot of kids who do gymnastics. Like, are you telling me you couldn't find one of those who can at least decently act? Or get, like, a stunt double of a kid who can? Like, they made Robin way too old.
Yeah. Because he needs to be... Let's think about this, because he'd probably have to be, like, early high school. You make him about 14 to 15, I think, a bare minimum. Like, that would be reasonable. You could make him a little bit younger. You could make him middle school aged. But I think around that, because then he's got enough logical physicality that you could run with it.
And also, if you wanted to give, like, Robin that, like, rebellious side that that the actor Chris O'Donnell was trying to give across, it would make sense, right? Because, like, if he's a teenager, you know, he's a teenager. He's going through puberty. So it would make sense for him to act up. Unlike in both movies where Robin or Dick Grayson just kind of seems like a whiny douche for no reason.
Yeah, it's a whiny 20 to 30 something. Just like, why are you being a little ass? I mean, it's just so confusing. But so we're going with our Robin's going to be about, you know, teenage. You know what? Oh man, I am so glad the Spider-Man movie came out, because essentially what you want is somebody like Tom Holland. Because I don't think he's not that young. He's in his 20s, I think. I could be completely wrong. But
well, I mean, obviously he couldn't be in this movie, because Tom Holland, I'm not even sure, would have been half of a cell.
We're ignoring that part. I'm saying the archetype. There we go. Of a Tom Holland, where it's an actor who looks fairly young for his age.
I mean, we're going on about Robin, but I want to circle it back to the man in the cape and cowl himself.
Yeah.
Do you want to stick with either Val Kilmer or George Clooney, or get somebody else?
Well, this is our dream universe. Michael Keaton needs to get his ass back here.
Yeah, I don't... Okay, so I'm not sure what happened with Keaton and Burton. I think probably what happened was there was too much studio interference, and that's why Burton left. I don't know if Keaton left because Burton left too, or he just didn't feel like the role. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we're already separating this from the Burton verse. This is our I guess our dream Schumacher, but maybe not Schumacher verse. So
I guess the real question is when was this movie made?
This movie was made in 95.
All right, so we're looking at 1995. Well, I mean, like, okay, our new version. We're going with this is within the alternate universe that this movie will exist in. This was post the two Batman. Someone, Schumacher, whoever we decide, is directing these things. But this is a 90s movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, let's see. Too young, so not Leo.
Man, that would be interesting, though.
I'm not sure Brad Pitt would have fit the role at the time. Perhaps Johnny Depp? Perhaps.
What did he look like in 95?
Have you ever seen the movie Ed Wood?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think. Tim Roth. That's another potential actor.
What is Tim Roth? Like, man, I like in my head I have Tim Roth. You know, late 90s, early 2000s. What does he look like then?
Sean Penn. I think Sean Penn looked pretty good in the 90s. That could have been one. Not John Travolta himself, but John Travolta's chin.
No, I think John Travolta needs to be... Yeah, no, you've got me like convinced. Sean Penn. I don't know who, but I think he needs to be in this movie. Because how old is he in '95?
I have no clue. As of 2020, Sean Penn is 59.
So what?
I think I'm leaning toward Johnny Depp. I feel like at that age, Johnny Depp could pull off a younger, like, young but not that young Bruce Wayne.
Well, because also he would have done, what was it? There was some movie he was in. 21, was it 21 Jump Street? That
he was in the show.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like he was in the show 21 Jump Street. So actually, he would have been really good.
And this would be coming right off the heels of Ed Wood. So this was like this time gap between, like, there's like, I would say maybe I guess this is the time gap between Ed Wood and Pirates of the Caribbean, because after Pirates of the Caribbean, I feel like Johnny Depp, for better or worse, changed as an actor.
Yeah, he's kind of Jack Sparrow, and that's about it.
Well, I'll say that Willy Wonka was a role.
See, you know, the funniest thing, I still have never seen Willy Wonka. Like
maybe you're blessed.
Yeah.
Maybe you're blessed, but that's my pick for who Batman could be in our alternative Schumacher verse is Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp is bad. See, I was thinking Johnny Depp as Robin. Like,
well, I think he's like, Johnny Depp was probably in his 30s, in 1995.
Really?
Yeah.
Man.
When was Johnny Depp born? Johnny Depp was born in 63, so 73, 83...
Really?
93. He's 32 years old in 1995.
Wow, that's a... Man.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I'm trying to wrap my head around him as Batman. So that's... That is my first difficulty. Not a bad thing.
Well, like... Okay, so by this point... Johnny Depp has not gotten a taste of Jack Sparrow, so he doesn't have that sort of Jack Sparrow weirdness to him.
Yeah.
So from all we know is that of what he could be is from early Burton films, and the early Burton films that he's been in, he just acts as a kooky, strange guy. And if you're going for lighthearted, I guess that could work. We've also seen him also play roles around this time that aren't kooky. They're relatively calm and or serious. So I feel like he could find... I feel like Johnny Depp, especially in the mid-'90s, could find a balance that works for Batman.
All right. And I could see him making the... Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you've got me. Huh. Why not? All right, so we got our Batman. Johnny Depp. Actually using his age to his advantage. You know, bulk him up a little bit. Who do we want to be our Robin?
Oh, now I have to think about young 90s actors.
Yeah.
I think we're right on the cusp of Titanic, so I think Leo's a little too old. He's just by a hair, he's a little too old.
Yeah.
For what we want for Robin. I'm looking up 90s child actors. I almost don't even want to say it. But I think that it would work.
Who?
Edward Furlong. I mean, I couldn't see Macaulay Culkin as Robin. I couldn't think of Hayden Christensen as Robin. Or Tom Felton. Or Drake Bell. Or Josh Peck.
Oh my god, I forgot that was it. Actually, I'm going to send you a picture that like is very close to how I'd imagine him looking as Robin. Wait, it's got like a graveyard or something in the background.
That might be Pet Cemetery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I don't want to go too much into my thoughts on Edward Furlong. But I think if we're going by look, and especially the acting chops.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, hang on. how old was Edward Furlong during this? Because like, if he was still relatively young, like he looked like in T2, then I agree.
77.
He would be. Oh, he's perfect.
Yeah,
he's perfect. He would be like 18.
So he'd probably look pretty close to how he looked in Terminator 2. Yeah,
he's got the attitude. He's got the attitude.
Man, that actually would be really good. I'd want to have someone other than I'm digging this Edward Furlong as Robin. I want a different look for the Batman though, because looking at 90s Furlong and like 90s Johnny Depp, they're like really similar, and I want
got a point.
Yeah, I want a different tone for our fictional Batman here in the 90s. We need someone a little more imposing. Robin Williams. Wait, no. That doesn't make any sense.
You know, like, I for whatever reason, I just typed in 90s tough actors, and the first one to show up was Bruce Willis, and I don't think Bruce Willis could work the cape and cowl.
No. See here.
I guess I could go back to thinking Tim Roth, maybe. I think I got it.
Who we got?
John Cusack.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, if we're not going with if you're so convinced on Furlong as Robin that 90s Depp is no longer even like possible, that's my second best John Cusack.
Oh, he would be so good. Because he could pull... Well, I know for sure he'd have a good Bruce Wayne. And I think he could pull out, like in 95. All right. Yeah, I'm digging the John Cusack.
I certainly think he's a better fit than Kilmer or Clooney.
God. I think Kilmer and Clooney were... Hey, let's get a big name on the board here.
I mean, it's not the first time, and it certainly isn't the last time that Hollywood has that mindset when casting.
Yeah.
So I guess what maybe how you'd want to start this movie out is showing, I guess, Robin's parents' death. Maybe because then here's the thing: you could technically have an origin story, but you could forgo Batman's origin story. We don't need to see how Batman becomes Batman, but now we can see Robin become Robin. With Batman already the hardened veteran, you know?
So our main character is Robin. More so than even Batman.
Sure, why not?
Okay. That works for me. Oh, actually, that'd be a really good one, because you could have Robin as our point of view character.
And, oh my god, the tone would work better, too.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going through... Our first act is probably... him at the circus, establishing maybe a montage of shows leading
the
up.
The Flying Graysons.
Yeah, it's the Flying Graysons. Him learning how to become a good acrobat up until their big show in Gotham. Everybody's going to be there. Even Bruce Wayne, one of their millionaire muckety mucks, is going to be there. What do we want to have? Well, because there are multiple different ways you can do it with who kills his parents. Because you've got the standard, what is it, Joe something or other? I can't remember.
Joe Chill is the guy who murders Bruce Wayne's parents. I don't remember who was the one responsible for the Flying Graysons' unfortunate accident. I feel like the person who does should be the main villain of the movie because it's personal to Robin.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't want to separate this into two movies. I want to do it to one. So I want to look at all the villains that appear in Schumacher's movies, and let's just pick out to see if any of them really work for this movie. I'll start with the ones that don't. Get Bane out of here.
Yeah, Bane doesn't have to be here.
We already talked about Bane in our Dark Knight Rises episode, but just to reiterate, it's like Nightfall was maybe one of the best graphic novels or best Batman stories from the 90s. I don't know how it's so hard to get Bane so wrong, but good job, you did it.
Yeah.
Get Poison Ivy out of here. Like, I get that sex sells, but, like, I don't know. I felt like she was just tonally too much. So that levels us down to 3 picks. I don't think Mr. Freeze would fit for this movie. I mean, I don't know. Like, I was going to say I don't think Mr. Freeze can fit with any movie, but then again, Batman Sub-Zero is also one of the better Batman anime. Yeah. Well, actually, every animated episode dealing with Mr. Freeze was excellent. Because
they did a fantastic take on him that they even started using in the comics as his backstory. So.
But then again, that's animated.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I just realized I just eliminated every villain from Batman and Robin.
Except for Two-Face or the... Well, okay. You know what? No. We're not using those villains. We're done. Unless maybe Riddler, we could come up with something interesting.
Because I was going to say, look, I know he's your guy. I know how much, Tommy Lee Jones is your man. Your hero, your icon.
I do.
What the actual fuck? Is his Two-Face?
I really hope he got a excellent, vacation or summer home off that movie. That's all I hope, because
I don't know if it was him. Like, I don't know who was fault. Is it Schumacher for making him act that way? Did he feel like he was pressured to one up Jim Carrey, and that's why he was acting this way? I don't know, but his Two-Face is horrendous. It's almost funny because, like, for so long I've kind of blocked him out of my mind. Like, to me, up until I rewatched these movies for this podcast. The only live-action adaptation of Two-Face was Aaron Eckhart's in The Dark Knight, which I thought was an excellent character.
Yeah.
So like, remembering that Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face exists, like, good lord. As for Jim Carrey's Riddler, like, let me just get this out of the way. I love Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey's one of my favorite comedians. He's definitely my favorite comedian actor. I don't hate his performance as the Riddler if I pretend that it's just Jim Carrey being a character that's called the Riddler. Like, like as a accurate representation of the Riddler.
Yeah.
Nah.
Dude, he's just the 70s Batman. Like, literally.
You mean Frank Gorshin?
Yeah. He's just Frank Gorshin. I mean, he's
Frank Gorshin mixed with Jim Carrey. That's all he is. He's an entertaining character. He's definitely the best part of Batman Forever.
Extremely entertaining, but it's just like, ugh.
If we kept the Riddler, could you go with, like, the animated series tone Riddler and still have it work in a lighthearted sense? Because I feel like that was a pretty solid middle ground, right? Like, the Riddler was like a bank robber and a thug, and yeah, he tried to murder Batman, but it seemed like it's not like, I'd say, like, modern comic book Riddler is.
Well, comic book Riddler's gotten weird. In a good way, weird. Because for a while he was almost an anti-hero where he was another detective similar to Batman. But he wasn't exactly a guy. He was kind of an asshole. So his comic book representation of him's got weird. But honestly, of all the villains I can think of off the top of my head, I'd have Black Mask being the villain. Because he's a good gangster. He honestly, why not make it to where... let's extrapolate out. Let's extrapolate out. What if we go with... Edward Furlong is going to be our Robin. What if he's not our Robin to start with? That we go, and this is... Batman has just gotten back from his training years. He's, slowly regaining his footing as a businessman, as head of Wayne Industries, so on. And this is one of the big events he's, going to, this Cirque du Soleil. Because I'm assuming, I'm sorry, this is 95. What, did Cirque du Soleil exist in 95?
Probably.
But let's go with that would be an interesting take on the Flying Grayson stuff, as opposed to it being Random Circus number 456. Make it to where it's something like the Cirque du Soleil, it's much more upper crust thing that you go to show your status. It has a similar background to it where, Grayson is... Do you mind if his nickname's Rich instead of Dick? I mean...
Sure. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but whatever.
But it's just like a side note. It's like, I mean, it's so hard to take you... Unfortunately, because of kind of what that name has become, just like, it's much better to take him seriously as Rich, I
mean, look, Dick Tracy was one of the biggest movies that came out during that time. Nobody... I mean, no, I'm sure there were people who were laughing at his name, but I mean, that didn't stop people from liking the movie Dick Tracy.
But again, it's that pulp era. We need, to modernize it a little bit, I'd make him to where he's like Rich Grayson. It separates the two characters. You can do a little bit. We're going with our Rich Grayson, Richard, so on, whatever. We continue on. It's Cirque du Soleil. He's just come back. What we have at the beginning is a young-ish Dick Grayson, where maybe he's... middle school to late elementary age when the accident happens with his family. Because, that would be really interesting. Because, the side note, when I was back in the Scouts, I don't know if you ever got this, but one of the best ways for me to learn something was to teach it to other people. So that could be similar to what Batman is doing in this section, is that Robin, same thing happens. Robin gets his family. He doesn't get his family killed, pardon me. Robin's family gets killed by gangsters. You can find out...
Under Roman Sionis.
Yes. Wait, say that again? I'm sorry?
Under Roman Sionis. Black Mask.
But yes. Either maybe he was the one who did it in particular before he fully became Black Mask, or...
Well, he should be Black Mask. I mean, granted, if you want to go full Schumacher, then he's already Black Mask. But you could have it to where he evolves into that character. Because I just realized that he's wearing a black skull mask.
Yeah,
quintessential bad guy, and especially if you wanted to go lighthearted. I mean, that's your dark, brooding character for you right there that you can just make a fool of at the end.
Well, because I mean, think about it. You can just knock him. His lips don't move. You can make fun of him for wearing this big mask and so on.
And he's far more interesting of a gangster character than Sal Maroni or Carmine Falcone.
Yeah, that was one of the weaker parts of the... Yeah, anyway, well, we've already talked about that. Anyway, yeah, sorry. I'm going to start going off on a tangent myself. So, we have it to where that happens. Robin's family gets killed. That's kind of our first act. Going to the second act, I think there needs to be a time jump, essentially, where Batman sees the potential of Robin and wants to help him better than he was helped, where, essentially Batman had to go off and, learn how to become Batman all by himself and never get any help and never, have a family or anything like that. Rich Grayson here never, has had a family. And, this is his chance to sort of teach his legacy to a new person. We go through, have a montage of, Rich learning how to become Robin. He finally does, we see those montages, and then he finally becomes Robin, middle of the second act, where he becomes, full Edward Furlong, fighting crime with Batman. And then I'm kind of thinking, what do we want to go from there? Because...
Okay, so what should happen is what ruins Robin's journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least puts a wrench in it, is he finds the name of the gangster who did this to his family, right? You have it to where, and you keep with that lighthearted tone, he's really grown to value Bruce Wayne as family, and the two are kind of growing close. They are the things that each other needed.
Yeah.
Then during one job, maybe Robin or both of them overhear some of the gangsters be like, you keep talking, the boss is going to whack you like he did with them Graysons. Like, and like,
yeah.
You know, and that could be a moment where it's like Robin has a name now, so now he's hellbent on finding this gangster, and against Batman's wishes, Robin goes out to extract vengeance. However, and if you wanted to have Sal Maroni or Carmine Falcone in and just show how much they're a pushover to Batman and Robin and the team, show how Roman Sionis is completely in a different league. You know, show the fact that like Robin shows up and Robin gets his absolute face pounded in. Maybe he does ruin one of Black Mask's steel, and maybe he hurts Black Mask enough to where he has to don that mask to hide his injuries if you want. But more or less, Robin
I think he needs to be Black Mask by the time Robin catches up.
Whether Robin gets physically hurt or just because of his, brashness caused others to get hurt, or both. Mm-hmm. It's a giant learning lesson for Robin of not to let his anger take hold of him. Because that's the thing is, show that maybe Bruce had to struggle with this, right? Maybe you even have a tender moment where Bruce is nursing him back to health, and he talks about how after he came back, he actually tracked down Joe Chill, and he almost murdered Joe Chill, but he stopped himself because he realizes that if he did, he'd be no better than Joe, or something along those lines.
No, I like that.
Because especially if you're going for a lighthearted tone, you really need to establish that, dark, brooding acts, are not the way. Right?
Yeah.
Sure, you can still have Batman and Robin beating up thugs in the middle of the night. Sure, but,
we need to be lighthearted about it.
Yeah, don't go full Snyder on this.
No.
Or Tim Miller. So, yeah, that's what I'd have to do. It's where Robin learns this grave mistake. I don't know what Black Mask's new plan is, but now that Robin has learned his lesson and is nursed back to health, Batman and Robin together need to take on Black Mask.
Yeah. I would love to have it to where if there was made to build up to a larger story. Because let's go with it. This is the first part in maybe a couple movies. Because it needs to be...
I do not want to make a trilogy out of this, JJ.
No. But I would say, we've got two movies. I feel like this needs to be leading into maybe Teen Titans, where he is becoming Nightwing. And I'm trying to think of, 'cause that would be an interesting arc that we haven't seen before in a movie. Because we see him as being, Robin, and that's it. Or not existing at all in the movie because people are like, oh, Robin's stupid because he's just a kid running around with Batman. It's like, no, you can have some interesting stuff. So I feel like having it to where Robin going and becoming Nightwing, yeah, that needs to be kind of the gist of his little arc here. Becoming Nightwing, becoming, head of the Teen Titans, so on.
Well, not for this movie. This movie should just solely focus on Batman and Robin. Yes,
I'm sorry. But I'm thinking about, what we could set up, what we could hint at for a future thing would be sort of amusing. Because, that's half the battle right now is for making movies. It's like, oh, how can we hint at something greater somewhere down the road? At least that's an idea.
The only thing is that if you wanted to go with this arc, that would actually have to be a part 3. Because the thing is, you need to step it up a little bit. Because, if we're getting into Teen Titans, that's when we start getting into, threats that are bigger than Gotham-level threats. Which, not saying that, Joker's a fiend to anybody he goes up against. But you know what I meant by that.
Yeah.
So it's Black Mask is, I feel like, a good first boss for Robin.
Yeah.
However, there needs to be another step there needs to be another level of boss before he goes into Teen Titans territory.
Yeah.
So, you could pull... Batman is in no shortage of good characters. I mean, if you wanted to try your hand again at the Riddler, you could do that. If you wanted to keep going with the gangster route, you could go with Penguin. But I'd rather not.
So, okay, well, just a side note, just like blue sky and thinking about things. Yeah, because, I mean, that's the basic gist of this movie, is that it's sort of Robin's origin story instead of being from Batman's point of view for this movie. We're getting to see what goes on in Robin's head from his point of view as, like, this crazy guy who, decided to become a man dressed as a bat kind of thing.
Since we're keeping a lighthearted tone, there's something I forgot to ask.
Yeah.
How 90s do you want this movie to be?
Oh, boy. Oh, I forgot about our time period. Yeah.
What I mean by that is, like, you take a look at some of the biggest blockbusters of the 1990s, right? And there are similarities, there are tones that kind of ring out throughout all of them. Independence Day, any of Michael Bay's films from the time, so both The Rock and Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
I already said Independence Day. But like,
but that
90s.
Yeah, I mean,
hang on,
like 90s over the top action movies. Oof.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that, like, if we want to keep the lighthearted tone, that's A-okay. What I'm asking is that, like, in these movies, do you just want to go with lighthearted tone, but tone down the 90s to be more generally approaching it, or do you want them to be products of their time as well? Because, I mean, I even though I feel like, obviously, being a product of their time just ages and really does not do a movie any favors, but I also realize that at the time that this was the norm. So do you want to go realistic here, or do you want to go with hopeful?
I will answer that question by asking you another question.
Mm-hmm.
The original Batman movie, do you think that is a product of its like late 80s, early 90s? Or is it fairly timeless? Because that is the real question. Okay, we're thinking the Batman cartoon, which I do realize this is sort of the storyline that Robin has in that series.
Well, you know what's the weird thing about, like, the timeline in the Batman show?
Yeah.
Is that it is a show that it technically has a bunch of sequel shows. It has Superman the Animated Series is technically a sequel.
Yep.
Batman Beyond is a sequel.
Yep.
And the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited is a sequel. So it's like the Batman the Animated Series, like, it clearly is supposed to take place in, like, the late 30s, early 40s.
Sort of.
Sort of. Same with Superman. However, you go to Batman Beyond, and that looks like it takes place in the year 2090X, or 2019, or whatever the Blade Runner years or Akira years are.
Yeah.
Justice League is also, like, the immediate sequel to Batman the Animated Series. And that looks like it takes place in 2000 now, you know? Like,
yeah.
So... But that was a tangent, sorry. I got off track.
But, I mean, you remember that whole thing with Robin where he finds out his parents' killer and, like, goes and hunts down the guy, and he's on the dock with the motorcycle, and he's about to, like, throw him off into the water.
Oh, my...
Yeah.
Oh, my... No, I thought I could...
Yeah, that's like...
That's how good that show is that, like...
It seeps into your brain. But no, that's kind of what we've got here. So I'm trying to think...
Except for replaced it with Black Mask.
We replaced it with Black Mask. So, but let's think about... Let's try and make this different. That's why that was one of the... I was thinking of having something leading into Teen Titans, so that he's gotten some... Maybe Black Mask... Ooh, what if Black Mask, during our second act here, gets some muscle from Metropolis to come in? Not any big villains, not anything huge, but a greater threat than...
Not in this first movie.
Okay, yeah, that would be the second movie, where you start getting something. Oh man, that would be interesting. Having it to where it's like a set of Batman movies where Black Mask is the main villain, or like gangsters. Wow. Huh.
Oh! If you wanted to seep from the show, you could lay the seeds of Deathstroke.
Ooh. Okay.
You could Deathstroke does not have to be in this movie, and you don't have to make Deathstroke as like dark as he was in the Teen Titans show. I guess if you wanted to, where maybe toward the end when Sionis is locked up, maybe Sionis has learned, or thinks he knows who. He's not sure, but he thinks he knows who Robin is. So he calls some. You see him make a phone call to somebody and asking them to look into it, and that person is Deathstroke, and that's who you set up for your second movie villain.
Okay. Oh man, yeah, I like that. Huh. Okay. So yeah, we're going with the basic. Just thankfully for this movie, it's pretty easy. We have it to where. Yeah, it's a really simple movie. It's wonderful. Which is what you need in the 90s. You need something simple. And you have a fairly lighthearted romp where Robin slowly becomes Robin. They beat up Black Mask. They're able to take down his criminal empire. He gets tossed in the jail. We have what we talked about with Deathstroke.
And hey, if you wanted to, like, even, like, lay the foundations of their working relationship with Jim Gordon, or if you wanted to even lay the seeds of what Batman and Robin tried to do with Barbara, you could even start that here too.
That needs to be a big thing. Okay. So let's kind of condense this and make it into more of a straightforward story than sort of like story beats ideas. Yeah, let's go ahead and finish. So we have this basic idea of Robin figures out that Black Mask has killed off his family. He confronts Black Mask, but unfortunately is unable to defeat him. He's sent packing. Batman is able to rescue him before Black Mask is able to kill him or anything like that. We have our whole scene about talking about like revenge and so on. Revenge is a bad thing, so and everything like that. I really would love to have it where they're talking with Jim Gordon. Jim Gordon is like helping them out, trying to find Black Mask and bring him to justice. We go from that. What is our big... I think the end of the second act has to be, we found out where Black Mask is and we're going to confront him. What is that confrontation between Batman, Robin, and Black Mask like for our ending crescendo here?
Okay. I think I got something.
Okay.
So we could Batman and Robin have angered Black Mask a lot. And because of this, Black Mask wants them dead. He also realizes that any hack with a gun is not going to do the job. So he does not call Deathstroke in. We're saving Deathstroke.
Yeah, Deathstroke is the teaser for the second movie.
Just like Justice League. But what if like you had him call in like C tier, B and C tier level, just people to try to like lure, like his plan is to like make his location know so Batman and Robin can show up, and when they do, that's when these like slightly higher level villains try to take them on. Batman and Robin use teamwork to take them out, and before Sionis can escape, they stop him. So Deadshot should be one of them.
Oh, that would be a good one.
Okay, so Deadshot. Like, who are some other good? I guess like.
Deadshot, the ventriloquist. I mean, you've got Man-Bat, but that might be overkill.
Man-Bat would definitely be overkill. That would be like Batman and Robin. Killer Moth.
How do you make Killer Moth interesting? Yes.
A flying pyrotechnic?
Oh, that'd be Firefly. Firefly would be...
Oh, oops, my bad. Firefly, yes. Yeah. So, Deadshot, Firefly, and Anarchy.
Yeah. Anarchy?
No. Yeah, Anarchy.
Like, guy in the red... He was a Batman villain? What?
I mean, technically he's a villain in DC in general, but he is classified as a Batman villain because he has fought Batman before.
Huh. I don't know if I'd use him. That's interesting, though.
Okay, so... Maybe not Anarchy.
Oh, because side note, the only reason I know who he is, Tom had my brother Tom had a bunch of comics on him. And he was like, I guess he was an anti-hero for a while. You know what? Honestly, Firefly and Killer Moth would be interesting. But
sure, let's just
we'll go with them. Because I think Calendar Man would be really stupid. So
we should totally get Condiment King in here, dude.
I still like Batman the Animated Series' version of Condiment King was my favorite. Like, he's just insane. He's just crazy. He's lost it.
I think that would work because, like, you'd have. It's technically it's semi-grounded, but you could have some like really wacky fun with it, especially like this crazy sniper and this flying pyrotechnic. So,
yeah.
I don't know. That's what Black Mask lures Batman and Robin into a trap, hoping that these two could kill them.
Those two characters in particular would make the most sense for Black Mask to keep around, because Firefly would be his go-to arsonist for, I need X building or X place burned down because they didn't give me production money. And Deadshot, I need X person dead. I don't know if Firefly needs the suit or Deadshot needs the suit either. But,
well, I mean, I feel like you could give them the crazy Schumacher suits, or you could just have them just be like, you know, semi-standard well, I say no, they'd have to have some costumes.
They need some kind of costumes.
And what you could get Jim Gordon more involved too, where it's like maybe that Firefly and Deadshot really do have them pinned down, but with the help of Jim Gordon, they are able to shake things up to get the upper hand back.
Mm-hmm. Because maybe that could be a part of our inciting incident, is that... Oh, okay. Idea. You had mentioned a gangster saying, like, you know, the boss is going to get you. What if that is Firefly? That they've actually been able to... some sort of arson, they stopped him, and he said, oh, yeah, you better let me go or the boss is going to get you. And he's like, well, who the hell is who's your boss, blah, 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 and you find out that is Black Mask. That actually Firefly is like the gangster you were talking about at the beginning. Would be interesting. Because, I mean, that's essentially what he is.
I think that could work. I feel like, though, it would definitely need oh my god, you know what I also realized was perfect about Firefly? Because he's a flying pyrotechnic, he would be so 90s. Because 90s blockbusters were full of pyrotechnics.
Yeah, that would be really good. Okay, I got an idea. This might be overwrought, but what if they are tracking down this guy who's setting fires? One of his early jobs was working on this, Cirque du Soleil thing that the Graysons were a part of, doing their pyrotechnics. You start to find, like, Robin maybe has assumed that it was a big accident that killed his parents and everything like that. And then he finds out, it's like, oh, yeah, you better watch out or you might end up just like those Graysons did years and years ago.
I like the idea of Firefly being the pyrotechnics guy. Mm-hmm. Right? Have it to where he's the guy who kind of opened the back door for Black Mask, right? Like, he wanted the Graysons gone. Yeah. He wanted the Graysons gone. So he gave them the like, he set up the opportune moment. And you can incorporate Deadshot back into it. So, like, the thing is, everyone did think it was an accident, because let's just say, like, they're on the tightrope and the tightrope snapped. And they all fell to their deaths. Well, you reveal that because of Firefly's pyrotechnics, nobody noticed a suppressed bullet cut the wire, and that's what killed them.
Ooh, okay.
So it's not just Black Mask who ordered the hit. You have Firefly and Deadshot who worked together to kill them. Like if Black Mask might have been the trigger man, but those two were the gun. You know?
Okay, I like that. And then they can come back later on. We have, a little bit of catharsis where they are taken to jail and so on before we have our big meeting with, or I guess during the whole Black Mask thing? Because I assume it's going to be Firefly gets thrown into prison, into Blackgate, and then is questioned by Robin and Batman. We then learn that there was a bigger threat behind him. They figure out that Deadshot could lead them to where they need to go. Robin goes off half-cocked to try and get Deadshot. Is injured by Deadshot, but they are able to capture Deadshot. Then we have the whole scene where Batman nurses Robin back to health. We have that's like, okay, you were just thinking about revenge. You need to cool off. You need to think about what you're actually doing. Then they get to have their final confrontation with Black Mask, with the two of them defeating Black Mask.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, like we said, with their learning to become a team and a family, and even some help from Jim, they're able to incapacitate Deadshot and Firefly, and they're able to cut off Black Mask before he escapes, and Black Mask goes to jail. Batman and Robin celebrate. They go off to the night, continuing to fight crime. And if you wanted to have a kind of a post-credit or mid-credit scene, or even toward the end, you have Black Mask make his one phone call. And he makes one call, and he's talking about how, just by the way that kid moved, I have an idea on who he is, but I'm not sure. Maybe you could do some digging. And then you cut to a man with an eye patch and a beard saying, if it's just investigation, it's not really worth my time, so it better be a worthy price. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, I think we got a movie there.
So yeah, that's my take on a lighthearted 90s Batman movie. Maybe not what Schumacher would have wanted per se, but I also don't care.
Because we got to see what he wanted, and it's like, this is not very good.
Oh, also, big change. No bat nipples and no bat ass.
Oh, we're not even like, God. Badass.
I've got nothing more to say. I'd rather not. I'd rather never think about Batman and Robin or Batman Forever for years.
I think we are good. That gives us a nice, interesting little take on Batman. Until we, look at some other stuff with the DCEU that has, come to whatever the heck it is now. So, yeah, I mean, anything else you want to add to what we've talked about?
No. No closing remarks. Just no. Screw the Schumacher movies. Bye.
All right, guys. That'll do it for us for today. Thank you for listening. And yeah, that'll do it. Thank you for listening to Constructive Cinema, a part of the Eternal Echo Entertainment Podcast Network. Check out our other podcasts on Podbean, YouTube, and our content streaming on Twitch. For exclusive content and to help support the network, head over to our Patreon at Eternal Echo Entertainment.